You might qualify for even more food stamps money every month, and we're going to show you how. Hi, I'm Nicole from lowincomerelief.com, where we help millions of Americans save money and get free stuff. Today I want to talk to you about how you can legally and legitimately increase the amount of food stamps you're getting every month. We've heard from countless people who are only getting $15 a month in food stamps, and that's not enough to get by. We've heard from a lot of people, including seniors, who have to decide whether they're going to buy their medications or their food with a little bit of cash resources that they have during the month. We've heard from several people who have explained that the food banks in their area are networked together, so they can't get more than 3 days worth of food from any food bank in their area. And we've had a few explain that they live on one peanut butter and jelly sandwich a day or worse because it's all they can afford. And these stories break my heart. So I took it to the internet and I did what I do, spent days doing research on what we could potentially do to put more food on the tables of those who need it the most. And this video and the corresponding article at lowincomerelief.com are the result of all that research. So today we're going to break down how the food stamps algorithm works, how they decide what you're going to get every month in food stamps, and what you can do to make sure that your information is reported accurately so you're getting the most amount of food stamps that you can qualify for. As the owner of lowincomerelief.com, I take our accuracy very seriously. So all the information that I'm going to present to you here today is accurate, factual, and verifiable. But it is your responsibility to make sure that you're accurately representing your situation to the food stamps office. At no point in this or any video will I ever recommend that you commit fraud. You absolutely should not commit fraud. Do not lie to the food stamps office or any government office or anybody in general. Just be honest. It's important. Now, that being said, it's not magic. It's not a mystery. The people at the food stamps office don't just pull a number out of a hat for you. There is an actual algorithm that they use to determine how much you qualify for each month. That's what we found in our research, and that's what we're going to present to you here today, so that you can see how it works and what you can do to make sure that you're getting all the deductions that you might qualify for and the most amount of food stamps possible every month. Gross income. Gross income is what you earn before taxes and deductions are taken out. It can be easy to figure out for an individual, but you have to report your gross income for your whole household. So that leads you to the question, who's in your household anyway? Now, if you're a nuclear family unit with just you and your kids, that can be pretty straightforward. By default, spouses, children, and the parents of your children are included in your household as long as you're living together. However, if you're an adult child who's moved back in with your parents, or if you have roommates or a live-in caregiver, it can get complicated because unless you are both living together and purchasing and preparing your food together, you're not part of the same SNAP household. And including those people's income can mean less food stamps for you. So you need to be very clear on who is in your household, whose income needs to be counted, and if you have any questions, be sure to ask your caseworker. Deductions. Whether or not it's fair for your individual circumstances, you are expected to contribute 30% of your household's net income towards your food purchases every month. So these deductions are really important, because they are the difference between your gross income and your net income. So the food stamps office really needs to know about the money you're spending on housing, utilities, medical expenses, child support. We're going to go over all of those deductions that are available to you in greater detail. So I hope you'll stick around, because in the course of my research, I found out that some of these deductions are only claimed by 2 to 5% of all SNAP households. And that means a lot of people are going out without the benefits they could qualify for. Standard deduction. The standard deduction is one that every household gets. If you get food stamps, you're already getting this. It's a flat rate deduction that counts against your gross income and is intended to compensate for things that every household needs to buy, like toilet paper and laundry soap. Everybody has to buy those things, and it would be a really big nightmare for the food stamps office and for you if you had to itemize each one of those purchases individually. So that's what the standard deduction is for. Earnings deduction. If you're working at a normal job and you're bringing home a paycheck and you submit those earnings to the food stamps office, they're automatically going to ignore 20% of your income. That counts as a deduction because it's used to compensate for things like transportation to and from work, uniforms, taxes, other work-related expenses. So if you are working at a job, you might want to double check with your caseworker and make sure you're getting that earnings deduction so that your income is calculated correctly. Shelter deduction. Housing is expensive. In most cases, it's a household's single biggest expense. It's important to make sure that the food stamps office knows how much you're spending on your rent or your mortgage, as well as your utilities, your basic phone service, any insurance you may have, and even any home repairs you may be doing. These deductions can make a huge difference in the amount of food stamps you're receiving, so it's very important to make sure that this information is reported correctly. If you've had a raise in your rent or your utilities, or you're not sure if this information is accurately reflected on your paperwork, contact your caseworker right away. Homeless shelter deduction. Being homeless can be expensive too, and it's a lot harder to prove those expenses on paper. If you are homeless, there are several states that are now rolling out homeless shelter deductions that can be made to your income also. These are generally available to people who are living in hotels, living in homeless shelters, maybe couch surfing with friends. If this is your situation, you should let your caseworker know and see if that exemption is available in your state. Child support deduction. If you are paying child support to a child that doesn't live in your home, then your caseworker needs to know. That money isn't staying in your household, so it shouldn't count against you when they're calculating what your food contribution should be. The study that I read indicated that only 2% of food stamps households are using this deduction, which may mean that there are many people missing out on benefits that they may qualify for. Medical expense deduction. Only about 5% of SNAP households are claiming this deduction, and it can make a huge difference. The medical expense deduction is designed to offset any out-of-pocket medical expenses you may have. If you're spending more than $35 a month out of pocket on your prescription medications, over-the-counter medications, doctor bills, hospital bills, in-home caregiver services, transportation to and from doctor's appointments, or even from getting your prescriptions, that's something you can count as a deduction against your income. In some states, you may even be able to count things like pet food for a trained service animal, veterinary care for a trained service animal, a relative caregiver, specialty care, eyeglasses, contact lenses, hearing aids, batteries, incontinence supplies, walkers, durable medical equipment, and even disability modifications made to your home. Once again, to be able to count those expenses, you either need to have someone in your household who is over the age of 60 or someone who is a disabled person of any age. You may be asked to show receipts and prove those expenses, so make sure you're prepared with that paperwork when you pursue this deduction. Next, we need to calculate your contribution. Your contribution is supposed to be 30% of your net income. So what the food stamps office is going to do is they're going to take your gross income, they're going to remove your deductions, and what remains is going to be your net income. They're going to take 30% of that, and they're going to call that your expected family contribution to your household's food purchases for the month. After that, all that's left is to figure out how much you will be getting in food stamps every month. And that's done by looking at the maximum benefits table for your year and household size and subtracting your family's expected contribution that we calculated in the last step. Now, if you're getting food stamps, you also need to know about some of the other programs we've found. We have found more than 450 freebies and deals for people with food stamps cards. I can't go over it all in this video, but you can see our full list at lowincomerelief.com/EBT. That's all I have for you in this video. If you have any other questions about food stamps, fire away in the comments. Otherwise, subscribe to our channel, check out our other videos, and pop by lowincomerelief.com to see all the information we have about how you can save money and get free stuff.